Hello, and thank you for joining us for this episode of the Marketing Guides for Small Business podcast. My name is Ian, and I'm joined by Ken and Paul from Changescape Web, and together we are your marketing guides. It's the beginning of the year and a pivotal time to look ahead, to plan your marketing, and to look at trends inside our businesses and outside of our businesses that could impact them, and determine if some of these trends could be valuable to us to employ. So today, as your marketing guides, we're not going to be looking into our crystal balls, at least not predominantly. Instead, we're looking at what has been trending for the last 12 months that we've observed, and what trends we think will be have the largest impact for small businesses in their marketing in the year ahead. The thing to keep in mind when exploring trends is that they don't always represent the most impactful strategies available to your business. Instead, they represent popular strategies that are gaining momentum in the marketplace and have a lot of buzz around them, but they could be potentially valuable to your business. So that's what we're going to be exploring today. So let's jump in. And the first question I have is for Ken. Ken, short video has continued to grow in popularity, and all things are pointing to this becoming even more valuable and more important in 2023. Why do you think this is? And what are some examples of how businesses can leverage short video this year?
Yeah, well, when you look at the performance of short video, starting with Instagram and then TikTok, really, that's the content that has been performing the best on those channels. And so and then TikTok just exploded. And so everybody has been rushing to add more short video style content. And so YouTube has created YouTube Shorts. Instagram, of course, has had, Reels and stories and things like that for a while. And Facebook now has Reels. You can do video on Twitter. You can do video on almost every platform now, including LinkedIn. Short video is great because one, I mean, video is hugely important because when people see people's faces, it stops the scroll, even if it's just for a second, and so when you having a human face in anything, and video is a great way to get people's faces seen. That's a huge factor. People, I mean, we live in a world where we're talking about instant gratification. So we've got short attention spans, and we're looking for something that's going to catch our interest and keep us interested and engaged, but not for too long. So short form video is huge, and it's only going to continue to explode. Now, how can a business take advantage of short form video? I mean, there are so many different ways. You can do highlights of your products or services. You can use it to show off. I mean, this wasn't show a human face, but you could create a little short video to show, a website that you designed. You could do behind the scenes. You could highlight key employees. Involvement in the community. There are just so many different things that you can do, and I think short video, it's great because you can repurpose it. It has SEO value. It obviously has value to put on your website. Any platform that you want to get the most out of your video on, you need to upload that natively to that platform. So if you're going to create a short video, you can create that however you want. You don't have to use an app on your phone. You could just use the video recording feature on your phone and then upload it, or even email it to yourself, edit it, on a desktop where you have more bells and whistles, or maybe where you feel more comfortable doing certain things. You can use repurposing tools to slice and dice videos. And then you can upload it. But when you upload it, you want to make sure you're uploading it to as designed and intended for the platform that you're using it on, and to the platform individually. You don't want to provide a link to a YouTube short as a Facebook post. That's going to cut down your views and your engagement tremendously, because Facebook wants Facebook content. It doesn't want to link external content and drive people off the platform.
Awesome. And it brings to mind John Loomer, who was on our podcast
Yeah.
a couple months ago. and John is one of the preeminent Facebook advertising gurus on the planet. And one of the things that I really came away with from that discussion was that he was not just seriously looking at short video and TikTok as one of the platforms that he was going to adopt that he'd resisted for so long.
Right.
But I actually follow John on those different channels, and it's been pretty interesting to watch him take up that mantle and start to, he's exploring topics that are for marketers and small business owners. But what I find fascinating is just how he's really embraced it, and it's pretty powerful. And I think one of the keys, which I think you implied, was if you can keep your thoughts really concise and in your wheelhouse of where your expertise lies, these can be really powerful ways to share information with people. So yes, of course, these channels, especially TikTok, right? It's an entertainment channel predominantly, but now you can advertise on there. But these videos, if you keep them concise and if you keep them on topic, they can be a powerful way of sharing information that you could then repurpose, of course, in your email marketing campaigns and on other channels.
Yeah. Don't force it though.
Yeah.
Just because there are so many crazy popular videos on TikTok or Instagram of people dancing or lip syncing or doing this or that, if that's not something that your business is good at and comfortable with, do not force it, because it could backfire on you.
Yeah, that's a great point. That's a great point. And I implied it at the beginning too, but I'm going to reference this at the end. And I think we all believe this really strongly as marketing consultants, that all of these trends have to fit within a strategy, a strategic marketing plan, and you should use that lens when exploring these ideas, because just because they're trendy doesn't mean they are the best place to put your investment of time and money in order to get a return on investment.
Yeah.
Paul, this is definitely one of the biggest trends we've seen in 2022, and it's just exploding now, but that's AI, artificial intelligence. It's certainly a big buzzword. It's now being shown in lots of mainstream media these days. And we're certainly seeing it in large part in the marketing world, to try to take away some of the more repetitive or labor intensive tasks involved in marketing. But even though it's shared in all these ways, where do you see AI presently? And how do you see it as a growing trend this year that small business owners could really take advantage of? Or can they take advantage of it?
Yeah, they absolutely can take advantage of it. I mean, AI is a huge topic in and of itself, but it's not a new concept. It's been around for a long time, and it requires data. First of all, artificial intelligence, it's using computer systems to process things the way a person would, supposedly. And it's everywhere. You interact with AI every day, whether you realize it or not. Like whether it's social media or any CRM that your business might use, any social media that you interact with, you're interacting with AI. And you were talking about TikTok. And there's a lot of controversy around TikTok. The problem isn't the TikTok algorithm. The TikTok algorithm itself is actually pretty awesome. It's what they're doing with your personal information.
Right.
And I think that's what people need to understand, is that AI requires data. And the more data, the better it is. And that's a double-edged sword. The problem is the more data it has, the better it is. But what are these companies doing with your personal information? And I think that's something that, like the millennials and Gen Z, because they've grown up with this, it's just natural to them. And I think sometimes they don't stop and think about, what are these companies doing with my personal information? And that's something people need to be aware of. It's not going away. it can be a great resource. It can, like you said, it can automate a lot of things. It can really help your business. I think from a small business standpoint, it's more in the area, of CRMs and automating these redundant tasks that you know, can take up a lot of time. And it's not going to go away. It's going to keep getting better and better. But I think the biggest thing I see with AI is, because it requires data, in order to personalize these messages, that requires personal information. And what are they doing with that? I guess that's one of my biggest concerns with it. But on the other side of that, it can be a really great tool for small businesses to help them streamline their business, make it more efficient, automate a lot of these redundant tasks. We set up things like, if someone calls your business and you're not available, they can immediately get a text saying, "Hey, we're sorry, we missed your call." So from a big data standpoint, the things that Google and Microsoft and Facebook and TikTok are doing, that's not something that you can control as a small business. But from a CRM standpoint, from automating things in your business, yes, they definitely can take advantage of it. And it's just going to get better and better. Right now, we use copywriting. We were talking earlier about copywriting tools and, our copy generating tools. And it's still kind of garbage in, garbage out. The better input you give it, the better output you're going to get.
Yep.
And yes, absolutely, small businesses can take it, and they should take advantage of it, because your competitors are going to, and if you don't, you're going to be at a serious disadvantage. But yes, absolutely, they can take advantage of it.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's interesting too that you talked about automation, and I often look at those as two separate things, right? We as marketers can, and as small businesses can, automate an awful lot of things that we do. Meaning, back in the day when CRMs first started to get really smart, is we could create workflows whereby if a prospective client were to visit a certain page, download a certain white paper or article, we could then customize an email message that would then go out to those people. And of course, that's still true today. That was 10, 15 years ago that we were using this at a corporate level, and it was costing hundreds of thousands of dollars a year for us to use that software. Nowadays, that kind of capability, it can be easily grasped by any small business, and those CRM platforms are getting better and better and making it easier and easier for you to create personalized messages to people. And of course, as AI gets smarter and as companies start to introduce that into the CRM systems, it'll become easier as well. I think that's a cool trend that we should keep an eye on. But it's important for business owners to know that that's available to them right now.
Yeah, and it's being incorporated more and more. It's like one of the platform we use, it integrates AI in a sense of customer intent. So if the intent is positive, do this. If the intent is negative, do this. And that's AI. It's not AI at the level of Google, but it's still using artificial intelligence. I think that's you're interacting with artificial intelligence every day, whether you realize it or not.
Yep. Cool. Ken, the next topic I wanted to cover trend was or is omni-channel marketing. It's a topic that we often have talked about on this podcast. Can you remind our listeners what omni-channel marketing is, why it's so powerful, and why we expect to see its use growing even larger than it has in this coming year?
Yeah, so omni-channel just means that you're using more than one channel to which really would be a tactic at that point, to build your online presence. And so what do we mean by channels? It could be social, could be SEO, could be paid ads, obviously your website, directory listings, including your Google business profile, review sites, external third-party sites. There are a lot of different things there. We see the best results where people are able to make an investment in an omni-channel strategy. One, it does this wonderful thing that I call a force multiplier. If you design an integrated set of campaigns and through multiple channels, let's just use an example of content on your website and running a Google pay-per-click ad campaign. If you do those in conjunction with one another, you're going to get better results if you do it by design and as a part of the implementation of your strategy than if you just did one or just did the other. Now, either one of them could potentially be sufficient and all you need, but what happens with way too many businesses, especially small businesses, is they reach a wall. And they do just enough to get some business coming in, and then they back off, and they never get ahead. They never are able to really build that sustainable growth pattern that they really are wanting to accomplish. And that's because they tend to do one tactic at a time, do it for a fixed period of time. It generates some results. Then they get busy. They back off that tactic or that channel, and they're reaching a wall. So in general, more is better for most businesses than what they think they need to be doing. But again, it has to be by design and implementation of the strategy that you've created. So why is it going to be more important than ever this year? Because we're seeing, we talked about this last week. Let's just take, home projects, for home remodelers and home services companies. There's been a massive amount of work done over the last couple of years in North America. People had money. They were working from home. They, were identifying needs that maybe they hadn't been noticing before. And they were acting on desires because they were spending a lot more time in their house. So a lot of work was done. Well, this year's not going to be that way. It may be in some markets. It may be for some businesses. If you're more maintenance focused than, big brand new project focused, then, maybe you'll see a fairly close continuation of what we've seen over the last couple of years. But the world is getting more and more competitive. People have realized they have to be online now. COVID forced everybody to be online. Google is changing the way it's feeding its search results page to where it's no longer you click through one page to the next. It's making it now like it's a news feed where you can scroll down and continue to get more and more information. So if you're and the reality is at the top of the Google search results page, you're going to have ads. You could have up to two different types of ads. You could have a local search ad. A local service ad, which would be for certain industries, not everybody, but it includes both home contractors as well as certain professions. Then you have your the classic Google search ads. Now you have your Google map results, and now you have your organic listings. So to the extent that you can dominate position in all three or four of those, depending on the nature of your business, that just sends massive trust signals to the searcher that you're a good, authoritative, quality business. And so it's super powerful. You can't get there if you're not omni-channel. You may get really lucky. You may be in a niche that's not very competitive. Could be geographically it's not competitive. You may be the only Mexican restaurant in 15 miles. Okay, well, you're probably going to show up on the Google map results if you have a Google business profile. And that maybe, so sure, everything I say is always going to have an example. You could say, oh, but this. But in general, if you want to be found and you really want to build a sustained growth model, leveraging digital marketing, omni-channel is absolutely the way to go. And every business needs to be thinking about that. And again, you want this to be a force multiplier where this stuff is working in concert with one another to amplify the results. If you've got multiple vendors doing point solutions and you're working in a bunch of different channels, but you haven't integrated them, you may not get what you expect to get, with the omni-channel boost.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the things I get really excited about omnichannel as well is not just the front end aspect, like the strategic online marketing side of it. I also get really excited about the omnichannel customer experience or even prospect experience, where it's the human interaction side where it can elevate, omnichannel can elevate that to a level that's really, really far more powerful than most businesses are taking advantage of today. Meaning, if you get found through Google Maps, you go to my website, you explore something, you download an article, what happens after that, right? And so being able to then interact with the person that's done that in the way that they want to, that's most powerful, almost like allowing them to choose their own adventure, but then force multiplying that again,
right,
by hitting them with retargeting, hitting them with, communicating. If texting is their most powerful medium where they want to connect with you, then man, you should be connecting with them via text, SMS texting. But then you should also be layering on email marketing, retargeting campaigns, all of that kind of stuff, and communicating in a way that is most powerful to them. And of course, you talked about short video earlier, leveraging video in any of those channels can elevate it to a whole new level as well.
Yeah. And when you think about the customer journey, I mean, people are at different stages at different times as they're
Right.
thinking about buying a product or service. And so, there are things that you need to be doing and channels you need to be leveraging for know, like, and trust. There are channels for try and buy that you just kind of talked about, with the downloads and things like that. And then the repeat and refer, look, it's not all digital. I mean, offline is incredibly important. I mean, having a strong referral program in place, there may be digital elements. As a matter of fact, I think there probably should be digital elements, but by and large, that can be a word of mouth, or it can be an offline, or it could be a networking or a partnership, kind of a thing. Those are all channels. Distributorships. If you sell something and you can get distributors to go out and sell for you in different markets, that's an amplification. And it's using a different channel because you're using a partner channel or a distributor channel. So it's critically important, and it needs to be done by design.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you could wind up fighting against yourself as well and competing against yourself. I mean, I don't know about you, but unfortunately, there are a lot of companies who will sell you a website and they'll stand it up on the domain that they own, and it competes with the domain that you and the website you already have, and
Yeah.
you're paying them for something, and you're competing for the same keyword phrases, maybe even the same ad phrases the ad keywords that you're paying for, and they don't tell you that because it's good and it's easy for them. So it's got to be done smartly and by design.
But they have pretty marketing materials.
They do. But I think anybody who's a marketing consultant who understands a unified, strategic, and systematic method of marketing, and has taken over clients from what we would call a more vendor-centric approach, where just what you were saying, Ken, is a vendor comes in, they sell you on the amazing capabilities of their tool, usually, but the results the tool can provide. But then you have all, I always think of it as, on the Ed Sullivan Show or something. I don't know whether, where way back in the day, those black and white things you used to see. And they had like the spinning plate people, and they'd start a spinning plate, then they do another one on a pole and another one, and they'd have like 16 spinning plates, but they'd always start to wobble and fall. And I always think of that when I come across clients who are multi-vendor focused from a marketing perspective, meaning you have a social media person, you have a website person, you have an SEO person, a pay-per-click person, an email marketing person. Man, like, you have a lot going on, and good for you for investing in strategies that can help your business. But wow, like, you would be so much better served with a unified approach to marketing, because first of all, you have one point of contact who understands your bigger picture plan and what your goals are, but unifies all those things in an omni-channel approach that's so powerful.
So to play
And then you
devil's
get that
advocate,
force multiplier, Ken.
yeah, but to play devil's advocate, don't you also have a single point of failure?
Well, no, you have accountability, I think. Yes, if you hire poorly, you have a single point of failure.
Right.
But hopefully you also know, if you hire well, so they always say, hire slowly, fire quickly, right? From an employee standpoint, but I think that's true of vendors too, is that small business owners can hang on to their vendors far too long and have an affinity for them that they don't really need to have, right? And I think if you choose well, you choose a strategic partner who can help you, who stands behind their work. Of course, things can go wrong, right? But if they're accountable to you and they are running your marketing as if it's their own in a responsible manner, then you have a point of contact who is your partner in marketing, not a vendor. And I think that's where it can be super powerful.
Yeah.
Paul, as marketers, we've seen some radical changes in social media. We talked a little bit about some of those already, but I see a growing trend now with business owners starting to realize that all the organic social media efforts that they're doing are producing less and less results, and they're getting harder and harder to do. It's harder to get in front of your target audience as a small business owner through organic social media. And some of them are now, I've heard more and more business owners talk about how it's not working and it's not worth the investment in time and energy. But where do you see organic social media going this year, and why? And are there opportunities for small business owners to somehow turn that around, or have we passed that, that sliver of time when organic social media worked, and now we're more into a paid world?
Yeah, I see organic social media is going away, honestly, because if you look at the history of social media, it was about something's echoing. It was about connectivity, engaging with community, and I call this idealism meets reality. They realized that things cost money in the real world, and they had to make money, and the way they did that was to go to a pay to play strategy kind of thing. And I think that's where social media is going to go. Organic reach is going to continue to decline. You're going to have to pay money to reach people, and it's also going to become, I think, a customer service tool, because a lot of the younger generations, they use direct messaging on social media, and that's how they want to engage with businesses. And so I think it's going to be a paid strategy, and it's going to become a customer service tool. And the organic component of it is, honestly, I think it's going to continue to decline and become insignificant.
And do you see? Yeah, go ahead, Ken.
If you have a follow-up, go ahead.
I was just going to ask if you guys have seen a trend, still a positive trend, in one of the mediums with which, like Facebook, platforms have made kind of this transition or a bridge between organic, what we post organically as businesses. Again, we're talking about businesses, not as individuals, because it's entirely different algorithm at work between businesses and individuals on Facebook and some of these other channels, right? But have you seen that when you boost organic posts, that's still working? Is that a potential way to get your elevate your organic results with a paid element to it?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's exactly what the social media platforms want you to do.
Mhm.
Well, they're also expanding their e-commerce capabilities. Yes,
Yep.
Facebook is continually getting sued. Look what
Yep.
happened to them in the EU. So that they have to go to this e-commerce platform, to this paid platform, because Facebook does a lot of illegal things. I'm sorry, it's just they've got, how many times have they been sued over the past few months? And like I said, I think the organic reach is just going to continue to decline, and they're going to move to an e-commerce platform, pay to play kind of platform, because they have no choice.
I'm going to disagree with Paul a little bit. I still think organic can be really beneficial and helpful, and it still can work, but it takes a lot more time than it used to. It used to be that you could pretty much post content and get engagement and visibility but what's happened over the last 5 years is the reach from business properties on social media platforms, a Facebook business page, for example, is it's been cut by 100% in terms of the reach over the last couple of years. So the reality is, for the typical piece of content you might post, you might get 6 to 10% of the people who like your page. Um, Chances are you're building your own little echo chamber, because it tends to be the same 10 to 15 people who may be liking that content on a regular basis. So you're not really breaking
Thanks,
out.
Mom.
And that's why, yeah, and that's why the boosted strategy works. But I think it's important for people to realize that I see that there are at least three tiers of organic social. One is basic blocking and tackling. You have to post on a regular basis, probably once to twice a day, just to feed the beast. The beast wants to see that you're using the platform and you're providing content. It also does help a little bit in terms of increasing your visibility in the news feed, because you're posting more than a couple of times, a couple of times a day. So maybe people are on that platform, at different times, and so that's important. Level two is really where it gets hard to outsource a lot of this, although you could outsource the production of it, but the content creation, I think, has to fall on the business, and the people in the business, the behind the scenes, the how it's made kind of things, the community involvement. And again, all of this just takes a lot more time and effort. If you're going to be doing video, you got to be thinking a little bit about, video production quality and costs and processes. And then really the third level is really that promotional level, where you're creating content that should be highly shared. Um, you know, um, Things like popular quotes, tips or tricks, or things that might be funny, inspirational quotes, and then so that's going to perform okay, because people tend to like to, like and comment and respond to that stuff. So then, because it's already a high performing piece of content, when you spend your money to boost that, you're probably going to get an even bigger uplift. And so I think you really have to look at social media strategy in a three-tiered approach. And and it's got to be really an ideal channel for your business. It's a necessary channel. I think you got to do that level one stuff regardless, just because it's an expectation that is out there in the world, that it's just like having a website. You got to be active at least to a degree on social media now.
Yeah. And I agree to all of that. One interesting strategy that I love the layer cake approach that you talked about, Ken, because that's often the analogy I use for clients as well. And one interesting kind of what do you call it when two paths meet?
Convergence.
Convergence, an interesting convergence that I've seen over the years, specifically with one of the networking groups I'm involved in, is that especially with a group like a BNI, where it's a referral type network, right? If you're in some type of network like that, um, a really powerful thing that you can do to get more organic results is to really ask the people in your group who are really your marketing partners, right? You're each trying to support and elevate each other's businesses, and usually they're local referral networks, is to ask them to share and to comment, and to like your posts on social media, because I've watched as a few members within one of the referral groups I'm in really take up this banner, and they have radically changed the organic results for some of the members within that group, because they're just big fans, and so they're sharing stuff and commenting on it, and it creates all types of great exposure for those businesses that they otherwise wouldn't have gotten organically.
Yeah, it's less of a numbers game and more of an engagement game, you
Yeah.
know. So you can spend money to build thousands of followers or fans or whatever. Um, that doesn't mean anything anymore. What's really important is, are people engaging? Are they serving as your champion and advocate? And just as you said.
Yeah. Almost like micro influencers now, right? Where you have
Yeah.
these big multi-million dollar influencers that brands want them to talk about their products. These are like micro local influencers that can just share, how much they're fans of your business.
Yeah.
Ken, it's been said that content is the fuel that runs the marketing engine. Do you still, hey, there's the book we wrote together. And you should all go out to Amazon and get that book. It's a great book. Content Marketing for Local Search.
Yes.
Creating content that people love and what is it? Google loves and people devour.
There you go. Yep. Yeah.
But do you still see this as a trend in 2023 for content marketing being valuable? And do you see any specific trends related to content marketing?
Yeah, content's critical. I mean, it's what's going to give your business personality. It's what's going to build authority and trust and expertise. So yeah, content is what drives all of that, and that is what Google is relying on right now to deliver search results. So now, the world is changing for sure. It used to be that you could have pretty good success with SEO just by being really good and thorough and consistent on doing 2 blog posts, 500 to 750 words per post. Post those twice. Post 2 a month, and that would serve you pretty well. That's that can still work pretty well depending on the competitiveness and the niche that you're in, and the market you're in. But really, content is becoming, the requirements are that you need to have longer content. There's a shift toward maybe producing a lot of shorter articles and maybe making an investment to create a longer page, what's referred to as like a hub page or a pillar page. And so that's critical. But content still drives search engine optimization. The way you publish it, where you publish it, is critical. The great thing about it, though, is, if you create any form of content, whether it's video, whether it's written, whether it's audio, you can repurpose that content. And, or a webinar, if you do a webinar, that can turn into 5 to 7 blog posts. It could turn into a hub page potentially. And it can certainly spawn off several short form videos, highlight reels, that are just quick hits that people are like, if you want to improve your Google, business ranking, do this. Boom, 30-second quick little tip. People are going to eat that stuff up like crazy. So content fuels everything. It is the driver behind the world of online and digital marketing.
I love your comment too, Ken, about repurposing. Right, I had a I have a client who's an electrician, and he's in my BNI group, but he's also a marketing client, and one of the things that I want to talk to him about in our next meeting is actually repurposing his infomercials or sales marketing minutes, whatever you want to call them, his little blurbs about his business and the types of referrals he's looking for, is actually to repurpose those as short form video, because they're
Yeah.
so powerful. He does such a great job. And if he can even get those out to a broader audience, it's a win-win, and he's already written the content.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I've done the same thing where I've actually recorded the sales manager, or not the sales manager, the 7-minute presentation. And
Yeah.
I've used that, transcribed it, and used that as the basis to create a blog post for, for folks that have been my clients that have been in my BNI chapters.
That's awesome. Paul, over the last year, we've seen some significant changes in paid advertising. Its cost, its effectiveness. Can you share more about this trend and where you see it going this year? And is paid advertising still a viable strategy for small businesses?
Listen to our previous podcast.
There you go. On to the next question.
Episode 134.
Yeah, it's still a viable strategy. Absolutely. It definitely should be part of your marketing strategy. But yes, it's like we talked about in the last podcast, costs are up and conversions are down, but that shouldn't stop you from utilizing it. You just have to be aware that things have changed. And if you talk specifically about Google Ads, if you go in there and you set up a campaign, Google's going to tell you use broad match keywords, because our algorithm will figure all this out. And testing after testing has proven that it's not true. And then they want to push you into what they call a performance max campaign. And they'll flat out tell you, if you make a change, you basically have to wait a month to see if that change actually. So you make a change and you're paying money to advertise for a month before Google can say, okay, well, what you didn't work. You just wasted all this money. Sucks being you. And that's kind of, and I'm being sarcastic there, but it's truth. That's exactly what they're doing. Right. And they'll tell you, even with their regular campaigns and their algorithm, when you make a change, you should wait 2 weeks to see if that change was good or bad. And so, no, don't use broad match keywords, and don't use their performance max campaigns, at least not yet. I'm sure at some point they'll get it figured out. I mean, Google is a big data company. They're not stupid. And they'll get it figured out. But right now, what they're telling you is simply not true. But I think video advertising, one thing they do tell you that is significant is you should use images. You can add images to your ads now, and you should do that. And you should do video advertising, because people would rather consume video, whether it's organic or whether it's advertising. Video is effective and it works, and you can't ignore video advertising. And Google has done some things to make it easier to set up and create those video ads, but it does require a little bit more time and investment to maybe get that video ad up and running. To create it, it's a lot easier to type in a text-based, what we know as search ads. That's quicker and easier, but video ads can be a lot more effective. People want to know who they're engaging with. And like we talked about in the past, this isn't about advertising, but having the owner of a small business have a welcome or intro video on their website is effective. It works. Mm-hmm. And so I think video advertising it's going to become predominant, whether anyone likes it or not. You're going to have to start to do it.
I love your advice there, Paul, about keep an eye on what Google's doing, but don't be the sacrificial lamb for their data collection. Because I've tried some of those. Like I've been convinced by Google consultants, right, who are within the Google family, who convinced me to try Performance
Who get
Max,
paid on commission? Oh, sorry.
and I have to say the results were disastrous, right? Like we did some A/B testing, and I'm like, man, like this is horrible. And yeah, just their whole method of really forcing you to wait to see what the impact of changes. Whereas, if you use a normal search campaign or some of the other types of campaigns within Google Ads right now, you can see immediate changes now. But with some of their more automated approaches, you got to wait 2 to 3 weeks. And heck, you're paying lots of money during that time. It benefits them greatly, but not you.
And Google does have a history of rolling things out and using us as a laboratory, and then say, "Oh well, that didn't work. Okay, we're just going to cancel this product with no warning."
Right. Yep. Ken, next question's for you. With all the pressures on paid advertising, talk a bit about SEO trends. Is it still important? What SEO trends do you see in the coming year?
Yeah, I think it's SEO is going to become more important than ever. Since we were just talking about video, I think video, first of all, video marketing needs to be part of your strategy for whether it's paid ads or organic for 2023. Videos are going to be displayed as part of the news feed or the search results page now in Google, to make it more similar to an experience of using a social media and seeing it as a news feed. And it's going to pull in images, it's going to pull in video, it's going to pull in the classic, web page or top 10 list type of articles, all of those kinds of things. So it's it's critical for the omni-channel reasons we've talked about, the content reasons, and the shift in the content that's going to need to be in place moving forward has already been in place. Google's push towards expertise, authority, and trust. All of that is just saying that SEO is alive and well and doing better than ever, and is more important than ever. What's interesting is now that you're having this scrolling news feed style search results page, I think it gives a small business who doesn't have a big SEO budget an opportunity to maybe invest a little bit of money in SEO, hoping that people are going to find, the first look. The reality is, if you're in home services, I know for a fact, and in many other industries, the first thing that you're going to see in the organic search results is let's just take home services. It's going to be Yelp, it's going to be Houzz, it's going to be Thumbtack, it's going to be Angie. They all put together these top 10 lists, and that's been a really hot trend. And so part of your organic strategy is do what you need to do to make sure you're showing up maybe on those lists. But that's pushing the opportunity for a real business in a market to show up on the first page of the search results, because at least half of those now seem to be taken up by these top 10 lists from third-party properties. Now you could still be high on the second page because now you don't have to click to that second page. You just keep scrolling down, and maybe you're going to get some SEO benefits. So I think every business needs to take a good hard look and relook at an SEO strategy this year. And it's, as we've talked about before so many times, SEO overall is going to be the most cost-effective long-term strategy for your business in terms of digital marketing investments.
Yeah. I love sharing our executive reports with our clients, where we show here's what you invested in these particular areas, and usually we split it out by paid and organic, and here's what your ROI was on those areas. And man, like paid ROI, we get great returns on investment for them, right? 7 times, 10 times, 20 times, whatever it is, it differs by market, but they get tons of return on investment from paid advertising when it's done well. But when we share the organic return on investment, like the amount of business and conversions they've gotten from organic, you can't compete with it because you are essentially paying an upfront fee and an ongoing fee in order to continuously optimize and continuously create content that's of value. But wow, it outperforms paid every single time.
Yeah. Well, and being in the 3-pack of the Google Maps is absolutely critical. And I saw an article yesterday that Apple is actually finally going to allow business owners to go in and add the type of content that you can add to your Apple Maps profile. It's still going to pull in the Yelp content for reviews and certain capabilities. So that's still going to be happening. But showing up on the Google Map results, that's where 60 to 70% of the clicks or calls happen. And you can't just do that by working on your free Google property. It's got to be an omni-channel approach, and it's got to be an SEO driven approach.
Yeah. Awesome. Paul, influencer marketing continues to be super trendy. If you look up marketing trends, articles, you will see influencer marketing as a trending topic. But what is influencer marketing, and does it even apply to small businesses? And if so, how can they leverage it?
Well, influencer marketing is someone that has gained a reputation, a following, that they're very influential in a particular industry or particular area. And yes, it applies to small business. Yes, it's going to continue everything like you said. It's going to continue to grow. And a lot of times when we think of influencer marketing, we think of people that have, millions of followers. They're basically celebrities, if you will. But for a small business, there's something called micro influencers, and they're people that have a lot of knowledge and influence in a particular niche, and that's where small businesses can work with these people, collaborate with these people, and they're a lot of times they're glad to do it because they say, okay, even if you're an HVAC contractor, okay, they're influencers that they specialize in that, and there's a need for that knowledge, and maybe it's a one-time thing on the consumer end. But if you're an HVAC business and you're working with one of these micro influencers, it's going to make it easier for people to find you. It's going to lend credibility to your business. And I think something like 89%, 90% of marketers actually, they currently work with these influencers, and 17% are planning to work with them in the coming year. So yeah, even if you're a small business, don't think that influencer marketing doesn't work. It might take a little bit of research to find these people, but it can definitely be worth it, and it can definitely help your business.
This isn't usually talked about in terms of influencer marketing, but being a guest on a podcast is very much influencer marketing. You're leveraging the audience and the work that somebody has already made a massive investment in to get in front of an audience that is your ideal audience or close to your ideal audience. So it doesn't have to be the classic, which Kardashian am I going to get to promote my product? It could be, is there a podcast that has an audience that makes sense for me to get an introduction and an opportunity to talk to?
Yeah. And, another thing with these micro influencers, I think in a lot of ways, they probably have more credibility in the eyes of people because they're, you look at these, I think celebrities have kind of lost their credibility, so to speak. And I mean, me personally, if I see some celebrity promoting something, it's like, okay, you're being paid for that, and you're being paid a lot of money for that, so you're gonna say whatever you're told to say. Whereas these micro influencers, they're not being paid a lot of money, and I think they have a lot more credibility.
So are you saying that Brad Pitt on that coffee machine commercial doesn't really
Full of
love
shit.
that coffee machine?
Uh,
Guys, this has been great. Are there other trends that we're getting near the end, but are there other marketing trends that you wish I asked you about that you'd like to add into this conversation?
I like user generated content to the extent that you can get and build a following of people that is going to either create content on your behalf and certainly share your content and maybe even editorialize it a little bit, in your favor. Uh, that's really fantastic. So anything that you can do to make that happen and encourage it. Hopefully, it's just through the excellent delivery of your quality products or services. But reviews are user generated content, and where most businesses, if they do a good job of capturing and getting people to write reviews, they suck at marketing those reviews. So you need to put them on your website. You need to use smart technologies to put them on the website so people notice them, like pop-ups and things like that. Don't just share it on social media with that ugly 5-star review kind of crap. I mean, because people see that and they tune it out. Use captivating, engaging, image-based posts that draw people's attention and then get them to read the review. Uh, Using user generated content from reviews for your business, you can turn that into video content, which has got SEO capability. It's got, social proof capability. So user generated content's fantastic.
Awesome. How about you, Paul?
I just say that we're not sure what's going to happen in the next year. I mean, a lot of things have happened over the past couple of years. I think Ken mentioned that when COVID hit, it changed. It forced a lot of businesses that were not in the digital space, or maybe not to any great degree. It forced them into that space. And you had asked, we talked about advertising costs, and because they were forced to start advertising digitally, Google Ads, whatever it is, that increased competition, which increased costs and decreased, conversions and return on that investment. And we're just going to have to, I think we don't know what's going to happen. We're just going to have to kind of be alert, pay attention, and see what happens.
Maybe that is the biggest trend that we should be talking about, is that small businesses need to continue, as they always have, to be adaptable.
Yeah.
Well, guys, I think this is a good place to wrap up. As a final note, we often say on this podcast that good marketing starts with good strategy first. So make sure you have a marketing plan and that you view these trends through the lens of that marketing plan so that you understand what can work for you and what investment is appropriate for your business. Thank you, Ken and Paul, for sharing your thoughts today on this important topic. And thank you to our audience for joining us today. I hope you found this topic valuable. If so, please share the link to it with other businesses who would benefit from it. And if there are marketing trends that you're excited about this year, drop us a line and we will consider doing a special show on these topics. So until next week, keep calm and market on.